Star Wars has amazing villains. Vader is iconic, menacing, and multifaceted. Palpatine is so crazy evil and powerful you just have to appreciate him. Thrawn is a complicated genius. Maul is an iconic madman with an interesting motivation, and the TV shows at least. And even though most people claim they hate the sequels, they can still say that Kylo Ren is the best character and an engaging antagonist. Even villains like General Grievous, Count Dooku, and Tarkin, for some reason, have their followings. But out of all the villains I mentioned, and all the ones I didn't, there is one villain that I look at and can't help but think,
Disney really fucked this one up.
I am, of course, talking about the infamous Nazi boy himself, General Hux.
A lot of people like to say that the sequels were always destined to burn, that Disney was always going to mess up Star Wars. But, no offense, that's kind of ridiculous. Yes, there were problems that, in hindsight, would eventually blow up into the biggest mess Star Wars has ever seen since the Ewok specials. But there was potential there. And as we've seen, Disney can create good Star Wars content when they want to. And even the sequel trilogy wasn't all that bad. There was a lot of great setup and potential pathways they could have taken. They just fucked up the ending so hard that it makes everything seem terrible in retrospect. And no character represents that more than General Hux. So let's take a look at his character from the beginning and see if Hux was really doomed from the start, or was he just another victim of its conclusion?
Part 1. The Nazi Boy.
So if you were to ask me what I thought of General Hux after I walked out of The Force Awakens, I would have said, who's General Hux? The Nazi boy? Oh, him? He's a Nazi boy. There's really nothing more to say. And yeah, honestly, he didn't leave an impression on me. Well, except for that one scene, but we'll get to that later. However, while rewatching this film for this video, I was reminded why he didn't stick out to me. And that all comes back to his introduction.
His introduction, unlike the main cast, was bland. He just seems like another one of Kylo Ren's goons, like this dude, or this dude. But when you watch the movie, it becomes clear he's not just another First Order officer. At first, he might appear as just another Tarkin. He's uptight, emotionless, and second in command to the wannabe Vader, but just like Kylo Ren is not Vader, Hux is no Tarkin. He's a Tarkin wannabe just as much as Kylo Ren's a Vader wannabe. Unlike Tarkin from the original trilogy, Hux is not secure in his powerful position, constantly feeling undermined by Kylo Ren and wanting to prove himself to Snoke. Unlike Vader and Tarkin, who seem to have a symbiotic relationship, Hux and Kylo Ren are constantly in conflict. This is shown in the scene where Kylo Ren and Hux are first talking, and we learn that Hux, who decided to recreate the Stormtrooper army when Kylo Ren wanted to use clone troopers. We also learn that Hux oversaw the creation of Starkiller Base. In a way, this is an interesting setup. There's a parallel between Hux and Ren that I will be discussing later, and Hux's desire to emulate the past glory of the Empire. Hux is, ironically, more concerned with destroying the New Republic than destroying the Resistance. You know, the actual anti-fascist group. This is another point of conflict between Kylo and Hux, which is amplified in the scene where Hux and Kylo Ren are talking to Snoke. Kylo is obsessed with destroying the Republic above all else, believing them to be the real enemy of the galaxy, the organization that succeeded the Empire, which leads us to this scene.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that one scene.
Oh yeah, this is why he's called the Nazi boy, because, I mean, God, this scene, how do I even begin? Okay, besides the obvious Nazi imagery. The speech he gives is all about one thing: destroying the New Republic and their fleet, which is the only thing stopping the First Order. After all, it's not like the Empire fell because of a few scummy rebels. Oh, wait. But if this scene shows anything, it's that he is truly dedicated to the First Order and is willing to commit horrendous war crimes to allow them to rise to power. Keep that in mind, it's going to come back later. So he doesn't really do much after the scene. The only thing of note is that when he's faced with a crisis, the first thing he did was run away to his authority figure to tell him what to do, which we can assume he didn't earnestly, which leads us directly into Part 2, the boy trying to hold on to power.
Okay, so I'm just gonna come out and say it. This was the best movie in the sequel trilogy. That's right, fight me, comment section. And honestly, this was the movie that made me like Hux. Not as like a human or anything, no, but as a villain.
So the first time we see him, he's commanding an army. Of note, he is the first major character of this movie, and this is where we see the smartest thing you could have ever done with this character, and that is to make him a total idiot. Some people would look at this slight shift and claim it's out of character, but may I remind you of this scene? It's pretty goofy, and this movie just highlights that. From a narrative perspective, it makes sense. Why is Hux on edge? Remember, Hux was responsible for two major projects in the First Order: creating Starkiller Base and raising the Stormtrooper army. And in less than a couple of days, his base was destroyed with the help of defected Stormtrooper. And in the opening scene, we learn that Hux is inept, falling for Poe's tricks, which, I mean, of course, this guy isn't the most emotionally and socially well-adjusted person in the galaxy. After Hux loses the Dreadnought, he's not angry or mad or even disappointed at what happened. He is understandably terrified, and that's when we see him humiliated again, this time by Snoke. The next time we see him, he looks confident in himself again. We later learn this is because he told Snoke that he had advice to track their ship through light speed. But in this scene, we learn something very important about Hux from Snoke. His rage in the right hands is easily manipulated. We'll get back to that. For most of the film, there's really nothing of note until the best Hux scene in the entire trilogy. It's not much, but says everything we need to know about Hux. He is horrified, devastated. He takes out his blaster to shoot Kylo Ren and immediately cowards back. A scene that is reminiscent of Luke's brief attempt to assassinate Kylo Ren. Of course, Luke didn't kill Kylo Ren out of compassion, and Hux didn't kill Kylo Ren out of fear. He gets humiliated by another Force user and immediately capitulates, or so it seems. Because in the next few scenes, we see that Hux can tell that Kylo Ren is completely unhinged from his attempted assassination. We can assume that he has a hunch that Kylo killed Snoke. We can also tell that while Kylo Ren is completely unhinged at this point, Hux pushes for power, or rather maintains power, constantly repeating Kylo Ren's commands, even ordering the army to stop after Kylo Ren's insane attempt to kill Luke. This leading up to his climax, where we see Kylo Ren just toss Hux aside.
Remember what Snoke said in the beginning of the movie?
You wonder why I keep a rabbit cur in such a place of power. A cur's weakness, properly manipulated, can be a sharp tool.
Now this rabbit cur is on the loose, and it's obvious that there's no one to control him. So what happens when a scared, angry, hate-filled, powerful man with control of the most powerful army in the galaxy doesn't have a respected authority figure to look up to? Well,
I'm the spy.
fuck! So, all right. So, JJ, now I know you're not watching this, but let's talk for a second. When you were writing this movie, what in God's name made you think this was a good idea? You were the one who created this character. You know better than anyone that this is all bullshit. It's just... Explain to me why in a million years would Huck, the devoted Nazi Empire fanboy, who screamed at the top of his lungs to destroy the Republic, the man so focused on destroying the Resistance and restoring the Empire, a man so terrified of losing his power, a man obsessed with the past and authority figures. Why in the name of the Father, brother, and sister would you ever, in a million years, make him a spy for the Resistance?
Why are you helping us? I don't care if you win. I need Kylo Ren to lose.
Oh, I see. I mean, this makes sense. After all, he does hate Kylo Ren, and this was something that was set up in both the previous movies, so it would make sense that he would want to destroy Kylo Ren in any way. Right? Well, ignoring the obvious fact that he's a detached Empire fanboy, from a narrative perspective, this doesn't make any sense. Because we all know Kylo Ren wants to kill the Emperor. Same as the Resistance. So, by helping the Resistance to defeat Palpatine, he is inadvertently helping Kylo Ren. So no, this doesn't make any sense. But, okay, JJ, I'll buy it. After all, Hux doesn't know that Kylo Ren wants the Empire dead. This could be interesting. Maybe Hux will learn Kylo Ren's real motivations and switch his sides again. Maybe the Empire will use Hux's rage to double-cross the Resistance and Kylo Ren. Maybe... So, all that was literally for nothing. This seems some sort of fake out death? Like, we know how J.J. Abrams loves his fake out deaths. And, oh, no, it's not. Oh, well... Okay, so, what went wrong here? Now, in defense of J.J. Abrams, this isn't completely his fault after all. He had a co-writer and multiple producers and editors that let this shit happen. Now, I've heard people argue that this was somehow Rian Johnson's fault for making Hux a more interesting and dynamic character. You know, J.J. Abrams couldn't possibly do anything with such a character. But one, Rian Johnson didn't fundamentally change his character. All he did was make fun of him, and his role evolved. In fact, at the end of The Last Jedi, despite being humiliated, General Hux wasn't in the worst position. Sure, the Supreme Leader is dead, but for all intents and purposes, he is second in command, even though he certainly runs the risk of Kylo Ren just killing him, but at the same time, he's still the leader of the Stormtrooper army. We see he still has some sway over the Stormtroopers. So why did this happen? I have no idea, but I do have a theory. And that is J.J. Abrams had no idea what to do with Hux. And really just the entire movie And they read online how some toxic fanboys hated that Hux was basically useless, and thought, gee, well, we set up that Hux and Kylo Ren have a rivalry, and we do need this plot device, and I would like an excuse to kill off this character, so bada bing, bada boom, he's a spy now. And hopefully, the audience will be so shocked they won't think twice about it. Yeah, we all thought twice about it. I thought about it 13 times actually, and it still doesn't make any sense. But, you know, writing a movie or any long-form story is hard, especially one with such hype and expectation and mixed feelings going into it. It couldn't have been easy, and I like to think that they tried and failed miserably, rather than the fact that they didn't give a shit and ruined my 2 favorite Star Wars movies for no other reason besides they just didn't care. After all, I can't say I could come up with a better ending to his character. Yeah, that right there was a lie. I figured out not 1, but 2 ways to make not only Hux's overall arc more satisfying, but episode 9 just in general better. We will get to that in the next video because this is kind of long, and quite frankly, this video is coming out way later than I planned it to. So yeah, subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so you know when I upload the next video. And if you liked this video or want to dislike it, if any of my comments of The Last Jedi bothered you that much, I don't care. And anyways, if you want, you can check out my blog in the description. It has a post. There's a post that is quite similar to this one, linked down below. It's basically just this video, but if you kind of want to read that, go ahead. Let's see. You can also check us out. You can also check me and my writing partner out on Instagram and Tumblr, links down below. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye!